Good morning. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Heather Mason, NBDA Executive Director. On behalf of the whole NBDA team, thank you for joining, for taking time out of your day. Really excited for this session today. It's session number two around a program that represents something that many specialty bicycle retailers have asked for, which is better data with clear insights and really to level the playing field between retailer and suppliers. So for decades, we believe that specialty bicycle retailers have made most of your important business decisions based on instinct and experience, which is great. But we want you to have access to market intelligence data that'll help you use data for your inventory planning, for pricing strategies, to see what's happening regionally, nationally, across North America, and just help you with better planning. We truly believe that this is going to be your insightful way that you can make best profits and best strategies for 2026 and beyond. So this webinar today is all about the NBDA Market Intelligence Program, which is powered by TrackFly. And you may have heard us talking about this for the past month or two because we're really excited about it. This is a benefit for retailers across North America that gives retailers the same caliber, access to the same caliber data that many of the large suppliers in the industry have access to. There's no cost for retailers. Today, what I'd like to do is give people who are attending a chance to learn more about the platform, see how you can use it as a retailer to make moves in your business through a dashboard that you have access to that gives you sale performance, regional trends. And then we want to have time for question and A. We know that there's been some conversation, some chatter, lots of questions coming forward, and we really want to make sure that this is an opportunity for all the attendees to have all those questions answered. So before we dive into it, I want to introduce our guests today, our partners. We're joined by Stephen Bard, who's TrackFly's CEO. He's going to give us background on TrackFly, why TrackFly is the firm that the NBDA has chosen to trust with our data. He's going to speak in general terms on how the platform has already helped thousands of brands and retailers in other industries. So that's fantastic. And then Mark Fletcher, he is the Director of Retail Success. He's going to walk us through the platform itself, show us how we can use the data. He's going to talk about how it interacts with your current point of sale system, lots of that nitty gritty stuff. And we do encourage you to ask questions and get involved. This session is the second time we've had a webinar here about the Market Intelligence Program, and we're doing the second one because we know there's lots of questions. So this is it. This is your opportunity. You can use the chat function, or when we get to it, you can raise your virtual hand and we can call on you. We are recording today, so you can have access to this if you have to step away at a later time. All right, so Stephen, can you give us an intro, walk us into the program, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely, Heather. And first of all, thank you everybody for joining as well today. We are just thrilled about the advancements, the progress that we've made with the NBDA over even just the last few months since launching this program. The excitement across the cycling industry has been just absolutely palpable, right? It's there that is finally bringing some insight to what's happening at the independent retail level. And we're so excited with our partnership with the NBDA, and Heather, working with you has been nothing but just amazing, and excited for what's ahead here in the future. So really excited to be doing this second webinar together. Again, more towards the questions that have come out over the last several weeks since our last webinar before the holiday break. But before we get into that, I am going to share my screen here and walk through a small presentation just laying out the groundwork of why this program exists, a little bit of background on TrackFly, as well as the the reason why we partnered and ultimately vetted together mutually the NBDA and TrackFly. So I want to make sure you guys can all see my screen. Heather, Mark, if you guys can give me a thumbs up. All right, perfect. So, again, this is really an important aspect of this, is that this is specifically focused on the wholesale channel. This is for independent retailers like many of you that are on this call, on this webinar, that have already joined the program or maybe evaluating it today. But the most important thing here is this is about trust. This is not just a data collection platform. It's about building a relationships of trust with you as retailers, within the NBDA, building on that foundation that the NBDA has already had for many years of being a trusted source of information, as well as with your brands. And so the reason why we lean into it that way is you, as independent retailers, deserve more than just data, more than just a data platform. This has been proven to us at TrackFly for all of the industries that we've worked with, is if you just had another reporting tool, it's very difficult to find time in your day to be able to analyze all that data. And so we wanted to go a lot further than that and give you an actual why, a reasoning behind all of these different data points and create actual actionable intelligence. Again, so much more than just giving you a report, giving you information that then you have to go ahead and determine the best way to use that. Now, what's amazing about that is, Heather, you hit the nail on the head at the very beginning in your introduction, saying that, what you actually need to be able to do is use your instinct. And it's very difficult to use your instinct if you don't have that intelligence behind your instinct. This is not meant to take away your experience as a retailer, your knowledge of your community. This is meant to augment that and provide you so much more information that gives you that actionable intelligence to make those instinctive decisions based off of. We actually have a really frequent joke that we talk about at TrackFly. That's not really a joke, but could be considered that way. Actionable intelligence is the actual AI that you need in your businesses. Being able to have that actual intelligence that's sitting behind all of your decisions each day. And what that really creates for you as a retailer is what we call your analyst in a box. One of the things that I speak about a lot, I think we shared on the last webinar as well, is I used to work with very large enterprise retailers. And what's fascinating there is the amount of resources that are available to create teams upon teams of redundant analysts. And what I saw was a little overkill on occasion. But as an independent retailer, you don't have the ability, nor the time, or the resources to be able to have those teams of analysts. And that's where TrackFly can come in, and it can be your analyst in a box to help you interpret all of this information. I'll speak a little bit to this. We're going to have more of this to come, but we've got some really exciting things in development right now for retailers that are going to enhance that analyst in a box experience. So excited to release that. Now, the last thing that I do want to hit on here is from like, foundation of this partnership is why it was so critical for TrackFly to align with the National Bicycle Dealer Association. Um, TrackFly is at our core, we're a technology company. We work with a lot of different industries. Again, my background specifically was on enterprise retail data and data feeds. But what that means is we can provide best in class enterprise technology to specialty industries like cycling, but there needs to be that voice of authority. As much as I would love to say I know everything about what it takes to be a cycling retailer, I don't. We have some great people on our team that understand that as well. But there is a trusted source that exists in the cycling industry. And when we were vetting the partnership to launch this forward, Heather and I sat down on many occasions, legally vetted the foundation of TrackFly, looked at the experience and with the NBDA, and we realized that the NBDA was an incredible resource to be that voice of the industry, to not just take this data and apply it to your needs, but to make sure that it's being interpreted with the voice, with the insights that can act and tell you how to interpret this best for your data. So, Heather, I couldn't progress on without giving you that shout out and the fortitude that you've had for years to bring this program to the industry, and how excited that we are to be your partner in that.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, yeah, and I do appreciate you stating that. And for our attendees that are with us here live today or listening to the recording in the future, the NBDA has been working on a data project for the past 4 years. And it's been important to us that we didn't just capture retailer data and provide some insights, but that was the end of it. We wanted a program that was more robust, that actually gave you a dashboard that you could use in your store to see how your inventory is performing, to see what those holes are. We also wanted there to be an actionable tool for the brands that you trust and you work with. And so part of this will allow you as the retailer to select which brands can have some access to your data through their sales reps, so they can help you understand what's selling through, how they can be a better brand partner to you. And that's up to you if you want to take part in that. But there's things we've worked into this to make it a real win for retailers. It was really important to the NBDA. This was not just some insights that you'd have access to, but really a tool that you could use in your business. And we're going to dive more into that. Stephen, thank you so much. I'm absolutely thrilled to find TrackFly as the partner that we chose. And Stephen, you know, I meet with many other association leaders in the running industry and the fly fishing, the outdoors. They're using TrackFly, and that gave me, you know, the added motivation and respect for your organization to bring this forward to the bicycling industry. So thank you for the work you're doing across various platforms. Let's get Mark in. Mark is the Director of Retailer Success, and the retailers who are on the call here today and who have had a chance to already connect with Mark, I hear all the time, Mark is just fabulous. Mark is wonderful. So Mark, we really appreciate you. The retailers are saying you're very easy to work with. You really help guide them through the process of connecting their point of sale, and you answer those questions. So I thought maybe that you could do a quick review of the platform itself, show the retailers what they could expect, and then we'll move over to some more questions.
Sounds great. And just echoing Stephen's comments, Heather, working with you in the MBDA community has been an absolute thrill and pleasure. So thank you for all your hard work. And yeah, super excited about this partnership. To everybody who's on with us, I appreciate you joining. I know many of you I perhaps have talked with or met with as we've gotten you onboarded. And it's been just an absolute pleasure to meet all of you and hear your stories and the excitement around TrackFly and the tools that will be available to this community. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. For many of those who are new to this or need a refresher, let me go ahead and share with you what this experience looks like. So Heather, Stephen, can you give me a thumbs up? Does everybody see this all good? Perfect.
Mhm.
So basically, in a nutshell, as Stephen described, TrackFly is a platform meant to provide retailers with insights into what's going on in their store and help them make those informed decisions, both based off of what's happening in the store level, but also across the industry of peer retailers. As Stephen had mentioned, this is specifically for the independent channel. And so we don't deal with big box. These are peer retailers like you guys who are local mom pop shops. So the data is a lot more relevant to what's going on. And so basically how it works very quick is when you set up your TrackFly accounts, you can go to trackfly.com, click the Join Today button, fill out your profile. It then will take you to this integrations page. And this is where you can select your point of sale. And I know a lot of cycling dealers on, say, Lightspeed, as an example, you just hit connect. It takes you to an authentication page where you then finish that setup. And it's done in less than 30 seconds. If you do not see your point of sale system here, I know we have a lot of retailers who have submitted Ascend as their POS. You simply click here, input your POS name here, hit submit. I do have some updates on Ascend that I think Steve and I will address a little bit later, but with some really exciting news regarding that, because I know we have a lot of retailers anxious to get these tools who use that point of sale. But yeah, basically, once everything is connected, TrackFly goes through that analysis phase to build out what you see here, which we call the TrackFly Retailer Dashboard. It looks at only two specific data points, sell-through and inventory. The software does not look at or touch anything regarding to customer information. That is something we do not deal with. So only those two data points I mentioned. And then once it's finished doing that analysis phase, all these different reports are accessible to you. Able to see, say, top sellers with current inventory levels to be able to help avoid stockouts. You can see top categories, brand scorecard as you're evaluating, say, pre-seasons or if you have appointments with reps, being able to see if that brand is up or down. You can filter these reports in almost any way you can think of. And so just to do a quick demonstration, say I want to look at the last 365. Let's say I want to look at, you can switch between your different locations, but between this, I'm going to select all. I'm going to select soft goods. And to drill down even further, I'm going to pick tops and bottoms. And for the sake of what's in this demo account specifically, you can also drill down by brand. And so I'm going to pick a familiar one that many people know, say Patagonia. And so this is where then the different reports will then be filtered by how you want to see them, both all of the reports, including the industry reports. And so I'll get into those in just a minute, but basically that's how this dashboard looks and how it works, giving you those insights both into how things are performing in your store, but then also next to how are things performing side by side to the industry. So when it comes to industry reports, you can see, for example, how are certain categories performing in your store, and is that matching up to the industry trends? Are certain category growth trajectories on par with what you're doing, or are there certain anomalies worth investigating? You also get top sellers by category, being able to see both the brand, the average unit price, and the specific product. The other nice thing is that is a recent update is the industry reports can be filtered by what brands and products you have in your point of sale, but now recently also the brands you don't carry. So many dealers I've talked to have said they'll get reps from new brands coming in saying, "Hey, I've got the best new thing." Well, you can actually look up that brand and confirm if what you're being told is actually accurate. So just look up the brand and then the reports will show you how that brand is performing across the channel. So that is kind of this first piece of TrackFly in a nutshell. And then last thing I'll show you real quick, and Heather had mentioned this when it comes to the brand engagement, and this is totally within the control of the retailer. But one piece of feedback we got a lot from retailers and other industries that we service is the ability to automate brand dashboards that they could share with their brand reps. Some of you might get requests from brand reps saying, "Hey, can you send me this sell-through report to prepare for an appointment?" I know that Trek has a send dealer sharing data with them, and some specialized dealers are also sharing data with them. And so basically, this takes that experience, if you want it, and automates it simply. And how it works is by invitation. You simply invite the brand rep or brand partner you want to connect with. And then that gives TrackFly software the information needed to build out the specific dashboard you want to share with them. And you can choose to accept or deny any invitations you get, but then also you can disconnect at any time should anything go wrong with that partnership. And so just want to reiterate, this is all within the retailer's control to provide this access. And what it's actually turned into in a quick nutshell is in other industries, it's basically turned these reps into what you could call enlisted assistant buyers. We've got reps who are coming in and be more strategic partners and collaborating on inventory, helping the retailers with better recommendations for what they think they need, but also understanding what you don't need as well. So really helping retailers to lean out their inventory and make sure they have the right products at the right time without having to add to their payroll with a new buyer. But yeah, that is TrackFly in a nutshell. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to, looks like Steven, you have a hand raised and a comment, please.
I do, and I want to follow the proper protocol of raising my hand. Hopefully that was okay, Heather.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's just important. We had a couple of really great questions already come up in the chat thread related to all of these really powerful metrics that you're showing right here, Mark. The
Yes.
question is for people that have had their account set up for a month, 2 months. We even had some of our very earliest retailers join almost 3 months ago. First of all, thank you for all of you that joined very early on. One of the things that's critical about this is when we start to get into a new industry like cycling, we can't just spin up data immediately. There's some inherent risks to that as far as creating a foundational standard. And so for everyone that joined early on, I know you've been incredibly patient to get these important results to you. Um, it was very important in the early days to make sure we had enough retailers participating so that we could actually create a foundational standard. We don't just roll and bring out industry reports immediately. And so for the first 2 to 3 months of any industry that TrackFly gets deployed into, we actually very scrupulously comb through all of the data across multiple retailers. We try to identify anomalies. We try to make a standardization so that it can become intelligently more available as more retailers join. So that's the initial reason for that delay of the platform. Now, there's another really exciting thing that happened that actually caused a little bit more of a delay. That was we had more retailers sign up in the first 2 months than we ever expected. That's a really phenomenal thing to have happen. But when that takes place, we have more data that we crawl through very scrupulously, so that way it can become even more accurate. And so typically we see about 2 to 3 months because of that influx of retailers that join. It will probably take about another month at the most to be able to get those reports in place. We're working through it as fast as we can, but just know that we are prioritizing accuracy and validity of the data over speed. So everyone that joined early on, again, thank you for being that early participant. We know that it's not just about being patient, but it's about being a foundational member and contributing to make sure that these reports are as accurate as possible when they become available.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Stephen. And I know that what we did because we wanted to get the program up and running and test out the API connections is we did suggest to our P2 members, the NBDA Profitability Project members, to join early. And so for our P2 members who did that early join, you did get the first like look at the platform, and it has now been a little bit longer, but you were one of the early ones to come on, and we're still getting all the data in and the whole program up to speed. So just for our P2 members, bear with us because we did give you that early access, but that means there's a little bit of delay there for the data as well.
Heather, it's the best problem that we could have had was just growing the panel as quickly as we did. And just to share some metrics on that, it's so amazing to see that again, the excitement and enthusiasm across the cycling retailer industry. The community that each of you are part of. In the first about 2.5 months, we had 150 retailers join to participate. Since then, we've actually had almost another 50 more and crossed almost 200 retailers joining this panel. This is phenomenal. This is exactly what we want to see to happen because it means we're actually able to be scrutinous with even a larger sampling of data that's going to make it that much more accurate quickly. It's unheard of to be able to see that in place. But the most important aspect of this does not include retailers with 20, 30, 50 plus locations. These are
Yeah.
not national accounts. This is meant for independent retailers. We want to make sure that the data is reflective of you and your community so you can make those decisions, those intuitive decisions with actual intelligence that's relative to you. Being able to compare it to that, super important. And I did just see, I'm sorry, Heather, if this is jumping ahead, there's another question that
Yeah,
came
go
up that
for
I
it.
want to address. That some of the reports, the comment came in that in dangerously low inventory, for example, there are some items that show up in there that are non-inventory products such as services, shipping fees, things like that. We understand that that's there. That's a bit of a symptom of some of this data cleanup that we find and we fine tune things. You may see some, again, just early preliminary things like this show up. Thank you for calling those things out because if you ever see anything like that, you can email our team, you can email Mark or our support group. It helps us to clean that up faster. But just know that all of those things are the things that our data analyst team are combing through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure to extract those out. So again, these are some of the symptoms of, again, that cleansing of the data in the first few months that we're going to continue to address.
Yeah, yeah, and I just want to point out that I have been meeting personally with Mark, Stephen, and the TrackFly team every single week. We
Mhm.
have a meeting every week to review the platform, how's it coming along, what kinks do we need, like just a touch base, and then we email several times throughout the week. So I want all the retailers to know that this isn't just like a launch of a program and then it just is like good luck. This is something that the NBDA wants to make sure, that TrackFly wants to make sure that we roll out properly. And as Stephen had said, we thought we'd get 100 retailers. We've almost doubled that number at this point. So we're just, making sure that we're putting things in place in the right way. So as this rolls out, it gets better and better and better. And that's truly what you can expect. Some questions here. One more question in the chat, and then I want to go to some questions that we had earlier. Will this pull our historical data or start from the time we join?
It's a great question. We do look at historical data. So when that initial sync comes through, we're able to already compare your year over year sales, your year over year brand experience, and also have that contribute to the anonymized industry data as well. So it becomes very robust quickly. That's another reason why it does take a little bit longer. We're not just looking at immediately what happens when we sign up. We have years of information that we want to cleanse so that we can immediately get that value of the comparisons over the last several years, not just immediately. So super important there. One clarification that comes in place, we know a lot of point of sale systems do not store historical inventory levels. So inventory as a trend, that does start from when you sign up going forward. But because of our database architecture, we actually will provide you with a day-to-day inventory level trend line so that you can actually compare your inventory performance year over year. Again, it's just a large data point that not a lot of point of sale systems are able to store. We'll be able to provide that for you in this dashboard, though.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. So attendees, please keep the questions coming. But I want to be very candid with our webinar today. So following our last webinar, there was a number of comments online, questions online in a social media group that many of us belong to about the program. And I don't like to comment in those social media platforms, but I did want to honestly address the questions. I love to see that there was so much engagement in that platform because questions are good. If there's questions and there's comments, that means people are paying attention and they want to know more. So, and we thought the questions were great. So what I basically did is I've taken some questions that I found online or some comments, and I'm going to ask Stephen and Mark those questions, and we're going to just address them right here. And for our attendees, if there's more questions that come up as we go, please use that chat. So the first question was just around TrackFly's business model. And so one of the most common questions is, how does TrackFly make money? I want to ask you guys if you could walk us through the business model, who pays for the platform, and how is this participation free for specialty bicycle retailers? It feels too good to be true, right?
Heather is, I know I've been answering a lot of the questions already. I don't want to take time away from Mark because he's got such great insight into working with so many of the retailers already. But I think this is a very important question to really take head on because we all know the saying, things that are too good to be true often are, right? And we recognize that with this program. I want to speak kind of, from my own perspective. I started TrackFly almost 6 years ago. And I specifically was working, as I mentioned, with big box enterprise retail chains. I mean, the biggest retailers in the country were on my client list. And when I set out to start TrackFly, it was because for me, there was a personal mission there, which is I felt the disparity of kind of the we'll call it inequality, the inequality that existed in enterprise grade tools for the independent, small business community. And so from day one, it was very important for me to make sure that this program was able to be available to small business owners with no burden for them because it didn't sit right with me. I fielded calls all the time from retailers that needed that access to information and it just was out of reach. And so that became our mission from day one. Now, what that created was a business model where I felt it was appropriate for brands to make sure to step forward and call out that they needed to support their independent retailers. It's been a challenging few years. Relationships have been strained. And as I've met with over 1,000 brands, as Heather mentioned, across many verticals and outdoors and sporting goods and recreation, there's a constant theme that brands are realizing how important their independent channel is. It is where trends are made. It is where core consumers and new consumers coming in are making the most important decisions. And so brands are supporting this program. So our business model is very simple. Brands come in and they're able to invite retailers to directly connect with them, regardless of their point of sale system, to be that partner. This is what Mark demonstrated a moment ago, to be able to be that extension of your team to ensure that your sell through is maximized for their products. And brands do subscribe to pay for that platform. The other side of this is brands are able to subscribe and access high level market data that is totally anonymized of retailers. We call this the derivation or the derivatives of the participating retailer data. Now, in order for us to be able to provide that, we are very scrutinous and very critical to make sure that no individual retailer's information can ever be exposed or accessed. But this is important information for those brands to be able to access. This helps them to make sure they manufacture the correct amount of products for your region, for your community specifically, and be able to make sure that the voice of your customers are heard in all of their production decisions. It's very critical for them. Now, we've come to an alignment with these brands to make sure that you have access to that data for free because you are an important aspect of this and you need to understand those same decisions for your businesses. We all wanted you to be successful. So we line up with the brands. Our business model is from the brands to make sure that you have the tools necessary to grow your business.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And just so, to add another layer to that for retailers, when we were bringing some of these early brands into the program, I met with brands that we trust who are great association members of the NBDA, and reviewed what we were doing in the project in deeper detail. So we have trusted brands who are on board, and everyone wants the best for, like, let's say the industry. So retailers sell in, sell through, we all get smarter. We don't have so much extra inventory hanging out there that we need to discount and take away margin. So with this data, we can all make better decisions. And that is really the goal here.
The only other thing I'll say to that, Heather, that's just so important is, it's one thing to just ask retailers for data and then allow brands to pay for that. It's another thing to say, you know, we want to give retailers a tool to be more successful
Hmm.
and have the brands be able to sponsor that and make sure it's important there. It's not just, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is not just a data program. This is not just insights for brands. This is truly a tool set for every retailer to have that your brands want you to have. They want you to be successful. They want you to sell more product because at the end of the day, it helps them to be more successful. So it's a really impactful program. And again, I know it feels too good to be true. I know it does firsthand. Um, but it just was so important that you as retailers are the ones to be successful through this.
Yeah, and then so thanks, Stephen. Another question, a theme that we saw a lot, and I've heard this since I came on board in 2021, is that when it comes to sharing data, uh, retailers are kind of afraid to do it. And I get it, it's their data. How is this data going to be, let's say, weaponized against my business? Why am I going to give my data so suppliers can just sell direct to consumer? And I've heard a lot of it. And so, the MBDA, we have 12 board members who are all retailers, and so bringing this project forward, it was important to us that your data could not be weaponized. We've got legal counsel on setting this up. We crossed our T's and dotted our I's. I mean, we were so strict and stringent when we talked to TrackFly about the data and control over the data. So just a little bit about maybe what control we have over the data or what safeguards are in place.
Mark, do you want to take that one? Or I'm happy to keep talking.
No, no, you're good. You're good. No, go ahead. I want to make sure we got to a couple of the other questions on here as well that have been submitted. So Steve, if you can take this one, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. So there's a couple of key pieces that come into the safeguards to make sure that your data as a retailer is not weaponized. The first and foremost is I kind of already alluded to this, but when we look at the market data, there are two very important statistical thresholds. So this is automated. This is not reliant upon humans to share. It's audited by humans, but enforced through what I would call algorithms. It provides a very important safeguard there. That is, no retailer can be specifically honed in to be able to see what is essentially your business, what's happening across every manufacturer, every brand, and your entire business's sales. And the way that we do this is there's a crossover between regional distribution of participation and revenue distribution. And
Mm.
so when you're drilling into a specific category, let's say we wanted to look at bike sales, um, the ability to drill in very close on a region without enough retailers, it compromises the anonymity of a potential retailer in that region. So we look to make sure that there's enough participation, enough locations to disperse that insight across that retailers aren't exposed through that market data. However, we could take that same thing, and this is where the cross section takes place. We could say, let's zone in on this retailer or on this region, and let's say that there is, 20 plus, 30 plus retailers that creates that participation threshold. But let's say one of those retailers does 30% or more of the revenue in that region. That's another trigger to say, okay, anonymity could potentially be compromised if there's one retailer that's doing the majority of the revenue. So we look at those two critical data points and we have those thresholds in place that no individual retailer can be analyzed or extracted out of the market data. We have very strict protocol on that. The other side of this question is that personal connection to a brand. So let's
Mhm.
say you wanted to connect with your specialized rep and say, I want to work closely together with this rep to make sure that my sell-through of specialized is in place and is successful. There's two really important things to have with this. You control the key to that connection to that data feed. So let's say your specialized reps invite you, or you vice versa, you invite that rep. You control the acceptance or the denial of that feed. It really puts the onus on your brand and vendor reps to make sure that they're leaning in and supporting you to be successful because you have the ability to pull back. You have the
Yeah.
ability to say, I don't want you to have that data, or let's work on our relationship a bit further. So that's the first thing is you control that feed at any point in time. The other aspect of that, again, it comes down to these thresholds, these algorithms that really protect you to ensure that only your data for that brand or for that rep is activated in that feed. That way, there's no visibility to competing brands, to other brands within your storefront. It's purely for the success of that brand in your store. And again, you control the asset access of all of that. The last thing that I'll say here, and again, these are just such important questions. At any point in time, we're not AOL. We've made it very easy for retailers to be able to pull back, to say, you know what, this is not something that I want to participate in. This is something that I've been concerned with. So you can actually go in that same screen that Mark showed you and disconnect as quickly as you want. You can also request all historical data be pulled off. We've made it easy because we want retailers to feel empowered through this rather than at risk through this.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions about that, please reach out because we want this to be treated with the utmost respect.
Yeah, I like that. Retailer empowerment. That is really what it's about. It's a dashboard for you to be empowered by having the optics into your inventory, and then across North America, and then also you control. So if you want to be empowered to pull back, you can do that as well. Some questions came in that are aligned with this topic. So before we move on, does the data not threshold happen at brand level as well? So say a shop is an exclusive dealer for a brand specific portfolio. Can they, are we sure that no one's going to see that individual retailer's data?
I love this question. That means you're thinking around the light or along the right lines here. The answer is yes. So we constantly are looking through these data points. We have not just algorithms that are looking at it, but we have a team of analysts that are looking at that exact same thing as well. We are constantly scrutinous on anomalies. And if we do see a singular brand performing in a region at one retailer location, that's called out, it's flagged, and made sure that that anonymity holds true for that scenario as well.
Yeah, cyber theft, there's a lot happening right now in the cyberspace that none of us can really, like, we try to safeguard ourselves the best we can. And so that brings me to a question that I saw from a retailer that was around safeguards. What safeguards are in place? I mean, I know we're all doing the best we can do, but can you just speak to a little bit about what TrackFly has in place to safeguard?
Absolutely. So, and again, I'm sorry, Mark. I feel like I'm taking all these questions.
Mark's doing great.
Mark, you're doing great. Keep it up. You look fantastic. Thanks for
Really
being.
nice.
Um, the short answer to this, Heather, again, this is enterprise grade technology. When we started to build this platform out, again, my background was creating enterprise data exchange feeds for the biggest retailers in the country and beyond. The benefit to each of you is that same technology and those same uh, cybersecurity, data leakage, all of those things are 100% in place from a technological standpoint. I'll share something really exciting that we're deploying this year, just because we believe so strong in this. We are actually evaluating of various different providers to with insurance and liability to make sure that if a leak ever happens, that if data is ever compromised, your businesses will be protected. We believe that strong in our architecture and in our security protocols that everything, data is encrypted in transit. When your data from your point of sale is coming into TrackFly, it's encrypted in that process. It's encrypted on our databases. This is our background. That's where I say, we are the technologists. Heather and the NBDA and you as the cycling business owners, you are the experts for the industry and the voice of the industry. And we are very confident in our security protocols, from evaluating different ISO requirements and certifications and things like that. That's our background, and we've built the technology to be compliant with all of those regulations.
Yeah, so there's got to be some trust there, and you guys have really proven yourself already. I'd like to change gears a little bit and move over to point of sale systems. We're so fortunate that we are blessed with some great point of sale systems. We've got Lightspeed, Ascend, Citrus Lime, Edge Technologies, and a slew of others that the bicycle industry is using. And I've seen some debates from retailers just about the data quality that comes out of our point of sale systems. We know that some of it might be a human role, but some of it is the point of sale systems themselves. And so that leads the question, how does TrackFly account for inconsistent or imperfect data that is coming from our point of sale systems? Any thoughts there? This
I,
might be Mark. This might be a Mark
this
question.
might be a Mark question.
Sorry, yes, I was just seeing that Brianna also had some questions again. Sorry, Hannah, Heather, can you say that one more time for me?
Well, we're just looking at our point of sale systems that we use, and not all retailers think that the point of sale system is delivering the best data to begin
Yes.
with. So if their point of sale system isn't delivering top-notch data, but they're giving data to TrackFly expecting something magical in return, I mean, how does that happen? So anything that you could give us there?
Yes. Yes, I actually ran into that with two cycling dealers yesterday that onboarded. They had the same exact question, wondering, well, hey, like we're still trying to figure out our inventory. We just moved locations. We're still getting our data inputted to where we want it to be with SKUs and UPCs, etc. So the nice thing about TrackFly is because of our algorithm, when it looks at your point of sale sell-through and inventory, as I mentioned, those are the only two data points. But when it looks at those data points, when it's building your dashboard, it doesn't just look at your point of sale data. It looks for any discrepancies, any missing markers like a SKU or a brand assignment. And what it will do is reference also brand catalog data, as well as the community of retailers in a given industry to help fill in the gaps. And so we've had retailers come to us. I'll give you just a quick example I had with a running store recently. They onboarded, they were starting to connect with some of their eyewear brands, including Tifosi Optics, which I know some of you might carry. Well, it turns out TrackFly actually notified them in their dashboard that there was about 10 products that were categorized as footwear. For whatever reason, that was the case. We went to them, said, hey, can you confirm this? He went back and talked to his buyer, and lo and behold, in their point of sale, it was miscategorized. They went and fixed it. But the nice thing about TrackFly is it looks for those discrepancies to help correct, as well as fill in those gaps. So even if you are missing some pieces of information in your point of sale on the product level or the brand level, rest assured, our system is made to handle those types of situations to ensure your dashboard is as accurate as possible.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mark. And I met with the gentleman from your team who's your data analyst, who's going to give us
Mhm.
the insights, who is like another touch point along the way, who can clean, normalize, and validate the data before we bring it back to members. So you have that extra safeguard there as well.
Yes.
Let's see. We have some more questions coming in, so I want to keep going forward if that's okay. There was a question just about mapping categories from Brianna in the chat. So say she wanted to give specialized bicycle components access to her dashboard, but she has them in her point of sale as like specialized, but in another platform, it's Specialized Bicycles. Will they automatically connect, or I'm sure there's a solution you have in place for that?
Absolutely. This is problem number one that we needed to solve was discrepancy across product names and brand names, consolidating that into one list. This is where we shine. Um, it's a little bit of a continuation of Mark's last description around anomalies around collection, data cleanliness. We have built a very robust and powerful system that, again, doesn't look for UPC only. It looks across every marker that we can across a product's name and then compares that to our broader database to make sure that this product is indeed this specialized component or bike or whatever it is. And it's not reliant on just the information that's in your POS. It looks across a broader base. A couple of things that I'll just add to this, Heather, that we're really excited about. When all of this data feeds through, I'll give you one example that just passed through the system a little bit ago that was flagged. We had a retailer come in that had a product called Violet. Um, it's a color, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, well, what product is this? No UPC, no SKU, very little description. It was called Violet and had a price point. That was picked up by our algorithm and was able to find the brand name, the description, an image, the full product name, and all of those data points, and put that product into the right place in categorization. And at that point, then it was tied to their POS. It still was called Violet. They didn't need to change it in their POS, but it was tied to this broader market data point, which is super powerful. And the engine that we've built, we are actually automatically categorizing almost 250,000 product lines directly from the POS every day. Now you
Yeah.
can think about how many SKUs you have in your POS in your storefront. All of those get put through this system and get automatically put in the right categories with the right brand name, a consolidated brand name, and a consolidated product name so that you can truly analyze against the industry. We're super proud about that, and that's where we really want to bring that data back to you as retailers.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, so wonderful questions for our attendees. A reminder again, we have about 10 minutes left, so any additional questions, please place those into chat. Um, so what I want to run through now is just the partnership forward and what retailers can expect. So earlier I placed into chat two options for retailers. You can one schedule a demo with Mark Fletcher. There's a link in there right to his personal calendar. Two is if you have not signed up yet, you can head over to a link that I placed to sign up and register. It is absolutely free. A reminder that the NBDA and TrackFly have rolled out this program starting in just December of 2025. So we're just 43 days in, if you would. The intention for this program and what the retailers who participating get out of their participation outside of just your dashboard insights and opportunity for brand reps to connect is that monthly the NBDA and TrackFly will send you insights. These will be delivered the first week of the month following end of month. So for January, you'll see these insights February week 1. This will be a simple PDF that gives you top level data across North America. In addition to that, TrackFly and the NBDA will host webinars quarterly. The first one in March of 2026. You'll see these on our event calendar soon. That'll be a deeper dive into the insight, giving you actionable strategies that you can use with the insights, best position for your inventory, tips you can pull out for your business, and allow you to ask questions as well. So those monthly insights delivered the first week of the month following the month, and then those quarterly webinars. In addition, the TrackFly team will be joining us at the CABDA Midwest Show, the CABDA West Show, and the 3 NBDA retailer summits. So that's Summit West, Summit Central in Bentonville in June, and then Summit Canada in July up in Whistler. So this is a long-term partnership. We're in year 1, and we will be developing a more robust platform as we go. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of data right now that TrackFly is collecting, and they're processing it. They're setting up the dashboards for all the retailers. I did hear from a retailer, one of our P2 members who came on in November, based in California, that his dashboard has populated with even more data now, and he's really excited. So it is really happening in this very granular process, almost retailer by retailer. So stay with us as we build this out. So that's what you can expect. I do see some more questions coming in, gentlemen, so I think we should probably jump over there if that's okay with you. Um,
Definitely.
so Justin, thanks for the great question. The question, Stephen and Mark, is will this brand catalog information and data cleaning algorithm ever be available outside of TrackFly? For instance, if they want to use the data to normalize, let's say, an e-com feed.
I love this question, Justin, and the short answer is yes. One of the things that we frequently share is this is a platform built for you as retailers. That is a request that has come up not just in cycling, but in many other industries that we work with. And so we are actually actively building this catalog. We'll call it a catalog feed to then take that cleansed data and populate it back in your POS. It's not an easy process. Obviously, the catalog is getting very massive, and we've got to apply other things to that to make sure that you're getting the right data. But expect that to be available here in the next several months to this year, as that catalog is being built out specifically for cycling. We already are doing that for some other industries as well because it's such. We know so many retailers spend a lot of time cleaning up data to be, online ready for their e-commerce storefronts, and this can absolutely help with that.
Wonderful. I love to see our retailers asking questions about open to buy. Thank you, Ron, for your great question. So, TrackFly does focus on sell-through and current inventory levels, but is there anything with open to buy that we can gain?
I don't know. I swear, Heather, I didn't prompt any of these people with these questions. I won't be sending checks unless you guys want them for feeding these questions. Uh, Open to buy is hot on our minds right now. Again, very commonly requested of now that you have sell through, now that you have inventory in one place, building out an open to buy plan directly in this same tool set. This is a platform for retailers. We're going to be building a lot more tools like this, and open to buy is currently being developed, being scoped out so that we can bring that full retail tool set to you within this platform. So stay tuned for that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Such a great question. And one additional question just accounts for stock levels. When systems show varying stock levels, how can the system account for that?
Again, such pointed questions are very relevant questions. From day one, we pull in the current inventory levels. As I mentioned, point of sale systems don't typically have a historical inventory level data point that we can access for long historicals. So when we start to look at inventory each day, we analyze two different points. We look at what is the inventory logged in your quantity available to sell in the POS, but we also look at the sell through, how many products actually sold. And with those two data points, as time passes, you're going to get a clean audit of what your actual inventory should be. So if you're showing a negative 15 or something like that, or maybe you show that your inventory went down only 3 units, but you actually sold 10, those start to look at each other in a reference point and make sure that we are getting the accurate inventory in place and making that available to you. That's why it's important to not just look at inventory. If you start to just say we pull in only inventory and we derive sales from inventory, it's not always the most accurate picture. If you're
Mhm.
saying we're looking at how many units sold, but we don't have the inventory, it's also a potential risk of the actual data coming through. But when you look at those two data points side by side, you really can true up what is the true inventory story. It takes a few months to learn what that looks like and make sure that it's accurate. But that is the way that we produce it, is we don't just look at just your inventory and your POS. We don't just look at what's sold through. We cross-reference and make sure it's the most accurate picture.
Wonderful. Thank you. And there's lots of questions I'm sure that maybe some of us are even maybe uncomfortable asking today during this webinar. I do want you to know that Mark, I'm calling you out again, buddy, that Mark is really personal and has been great with retailer onboarding and really walking through retailers the steps of connecting their point of sale. It feels kind of like a nerve wreck. It could be a little bit of a process, right? It makes you a little uneasy if you haven't done it before. Mark will really walk you through the process and make sure that you're comfortable, you're confident, and make sure that you are empowered, as we said earlier, to with this program. So if there's any additional questions that you weren't comfortable asking today, know that you have a great person ready and standing by. Um, Stephen, Mark, I mean, I guess it's okay to be skeptical, right? This is a new program. We've seen some data projects in the past maybe not deliver what we were hoping for. Is there anything else that you would just like maybe an important thing to understand for our retailers before deciding if they want to participate or not that maybe we haven't covered?
Mark, I'm going to let you respond first, and then I'll share my sentiment as well.
Yes, yes, of course. No, thank you. And I'll be honest, Heather. Yes, I totally understand everybody who might be on the fence and curious, like, well, should I wait or should I get started? I will say this, of the 98, maybe I'd say 97% of the retailers that I have met with have onboarded, primarily because they want to get this quickly. The other 3%, there's some people I totally understand. They have their way of doing things, and we totally respect that. But I will say this, what we have seen in the other industries, the impact that it has had on the retailer has been absolutely crazy, to be honest. We've had retailers report to us. I was talking with a surf shop actually at an event a couple weeks ago who's been on TrackFly for about a year. His sales have more than doubled from using some of the different tools and connecting with his brands. And so, not every retailer is going to have the same result. Don't mean to set an expectation there, but there is real use cases where retailers are leaning in with their brand partners and collaborating on that inventory to make sure that their inventory is lean and with the right products at the right time. And so, totally understand if anybody has any questions or any concerns. More than happy to sit down and talk through any of those. If you want to have a separate meeting, like I said, Heather has my meeting link here in this chat. But if anybody wants to reach out to me personally, my email is mark@trackfly.com. I'm more than happy to set something up and hear of any concerns or any questions you have. I love hearing retailer stories. I love learning from you all. The ones I've talked to have been an absolute delight to meet. And so please reach out. More than happy to talk and hear of any questions you have.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. And I know we're at time, so just bear with us. Stephen, did you want to chime in there too?
I'll just say one really quick thing. We avoid at all costs the statement of share your POS data. That's not what any program should be, is just asking retailers to share your POS data. If that's what you're hearing, I would absolutely have a skeptical lens that I would look through as well. Instead, run your business better.
Mm,
That's what it comes down to. And look for tools, look for capabilities that allow you to run your business better. That's what TrackFly aims to do. That's what the NBDA Market Intelligence Program looks to do. This is a tool for you as retailers to run your business better. That is the lens that I would look through. And if you feel like you're getting that, don't stop. If you don't, I would absolutely, recommend you to sit back and evaluate what are the tools, what are the things that I need to do that.
yeah, thanks, Stephen. And a reminder to our community is that, we didn't fall into this lightly. The MBDA, we've been working on this, since I've come on board in 2021. It was important to me that we brought forward a platform, a program that was honest, was trustworthy, and would deliver great insights and value to retailers and also the industry at large. This is a program created by retailers for retailers. And I can tell you with utmost confidence, we have your best interest at heart. The more retailers that we have contributing data, the more robust the data, and the better we can be equipped to make decisions forward. Seeing our industry grapple with overstocks and then leading to reduction in margin, reduction in realized margin, we can't have this anymore. And the only way to clean that up is better data, better sell-through data moving forward. So we will see the impacts of this market intelligence program in years to come. And the retailers who get on board now, you are helping us shape the future. And I appreciate that. And any questions at any point, come to me, Heather at NBDA.com. I'm always happy to address any questions and to take ideas and solutions forward. So with that, we are going to wrap up. Justin, we see your question on the Ascend integration, and I see Mark just wrote back in chat. Thanks, Mark. You got my back. If anyone does have other questions that came up, please just email or reach out. Stephen and Mark, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you and looking forward to seeing you at the trade shows coming up and interacting in person.
Likewise, Heather, thanks so much. And thanks everybody for joining today.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
now.
you.